Good evening, everyone. We turn on the mic. Good evening, anyone. Welcome to the Board of Directors meeting, the regular Board of Directors meeting today. Shall we call to order? And I'm going to call roll call.
Director Kenneth?
Here.
Director Flaher?
Here.
Director Chapman?
Present.
Director Annabelle? Here. Director Alexander?
Here.
Director Potter?
Here.
Director Gill?
Here.
Okay, good. Everyone's here. We do not have closed session tonight, so we will skip over to and ask if there's any member of the public wishing to address the board and any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Is there anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay, all right, great. Now we will move on to the approval of minutes.
Approve. Second.
Are there any public comments on the minutes?
There are none.
All right, so we have a motion to approve. The Director Kenneth? Yes, and Director Gill, in second, to approve minutes?
Director Kenneth?
Yes.
Director Flaher?
Yes.
Director Chapman?
Yes.
Director Annabelle?
Yes.
Director Alexander?
Yes.
Director Potter?
Yes.
Director Gill?
Yes.
Great, wonderful. The motion to approve the minutes is approved unanimously. Now we're on to consent items. Anybody wishing to pull an item from consent?
No consent items tonight.
No consent. Okay, well, all right. All right, so there's no public on new consent items. All right, so now let's bring on new business. So the first item of new business is considering the adoption of a mitigated negative declaration pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act and approval of the Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve Public Access Improvement Plan. Thank you, Jen.
Yes, thank you. And good evening, directors. Jennifer Hooper, Associate Open Space Planner. And so tonight we'll be discussing the Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve Public Access Improvement Project. I'll share an overview of the project as well as the outcomes of the environmental analysis of the project in this presentation. So it's staff's recommendation that the board tonight adopt the mitigated negative declaration and mitigation monitoring and reporting program and approve the Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve Public Access Improvement Project. So to briefly go over the project goals and objectives here, the primary intention is, or one of the primary goals of the project is to provide equitable public access, connecting people to nature along the Hearts Delight Trail. So that includes creating a destination from our existing ADA parking spaces on the preserve to accessible use areas, providing new and improve existing accessible features, including an entryway sequence and trailhead, seating and picnic areas, interpretive elements, and wayfinding signage. So these accessible features would be consistent with the Architectural Barriers Act guidelines for outdoor developed areas. And those guidelines acknowledge the unique challenges of providing accessible features in outdoor natural areas and provide guidance for designing features with allowances to accommodate the natural areas while still remaining accessible for people. So the guidelines address things like trail slope, width, cross slope, surfacing, obstructions and resting intervals, as well as things like seating and picnic areas and signage. So the project also will protect and enhance existing cultural and natural resources. So the work that we've done out there includes a phase 2 archaeological assessment and tribal engagement. So we had tribal monitors during some of that cultural resource work, and then intend to continue to engage the tribe through project design and in the design of interpretive elements. We hope to, through the project, clearly delineate the day use area and meadow, provide it clear areas where which are intended for public use, protecting tree roots there from compaction. We have a lot of large mature oak trees out there. We want to protect those. In one way, that would be by removing redundant roadways, service roads out there, and then overall minimize biological impacts associated with the project. This is a map of Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve, approximately 400 acres and 4 miles of trail. The area where we're looking at for this project is the entryway and Hearts Delight Trail. So as you enter the preserve, the Hearts Delight Trail is off to the right. It's approximately 1/4 mile long. So we'll zoom in here. So this is an overhead view of the preserve entryway, trailhead, and the Hearts Delight Trail. And in particular highlighted the nodes that we're looking at. And so I'll just go over these. So again, the approximately quarter mile long Hearts Delight Trail, the project would include firm, stable surfacing of the trail and removing redundant roadways. Looking at the central gathering area and preserve entryway and trailhead, making this accessible, providing bench seating and potentially shade structure, and then confirming that the ADA parking there is up to current code as well. Looking at the existing picnic area, making accessibility improvements to that existing picnic area, and again, reducing harm to the oak trees out there. And then continue on the accessible trail, create a new seating and interpretive area and terminus to the trail at the end. So the environmental analysis for the project found that there were potentially significant impacts associated with the project to air quality, biological resources, cultural and tribal cultural resources. These impacts are associated with construction activities and the potential for impacts to rare, threatened, and endangered species, or the unintended discovery of cultural or tribal cultural resources. So the mitigation measures proposed for this project were designed to reduce the potential impact to levels of less than significant. And these included, to summarize, the mitigation measures for air quality would be all aimed at reducing dust associated with construction activities. As mitigation for impacts to biological resources, we would conduct surveys, pre-construction surveys for crotch bumblebee, American badger dens, and then the nests of special status birds, raptors, and other common birds, again, prior to construction. And then as mitigation for impacts to cultural and tribal cultural resources, the authority would conduct cultural sensitivity training prior to construction for construction crews and retain Native American and archaeological monitors at the construction site during ground disturbing activities. So notification about the release of the draft environmental documents was circulated to responsible agencies, interested parties and stakeholders, local tribes and preserve neighbors. The notification was posted here at the authority's administrative office at 33 Las Colinas Lane here in San Jose, at the preserve, the Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve Trailhead kiosk, and on the project webpage. Notification was also published in the San Jose Post-Record newspaper. And so the review and comment period was open from August 14th to September 15th, and no public comment was received on the project. Right, so the schedule here shows the phases of the project that are complete, the concept and schematic design phase, and then CEQA analysis, which is pending approval tonight. And then we'll, through the rest of this year and into 2024, continue and finalizing design and construction documents and permitting for the project. The intention would be to have a shovel-ready project, at which point we could revisit funding for the project associated with development of next fiscal year, and other grant and funding opportunities. And so the project budget, this slide summarizes the budget here, estimated at approximately $1.3 million overall. Construction costs, of course, are an estimate and will depend on project bidding, and it's possible that costs may increase over time. And then so to note here, the authority has submitted a federal funding request in the amount of $800,000, which was carried into the House Appropriations Bill by Congressman Panetta. It was a community project as part of the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Spending Bill. So currently, given the uncertainty in the House of Representatives regarding passing the budget, the federal budget, it would likely be in the December 2023 to March 2024 when we would receive another update on how the status of that funding is faring in the federal budget. And then so tonight in sum, we are looking for adoption of the Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve Public Access Improvement Project Mitigated Negative Declaration and Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program and approval of the project overall. Thank you. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Yes. Director Kent.
Improved access. Feature for the parking. Remember during COVID, when we were open, and hearing from some of the neighbors. That not only was it, can you hear me? Yeah. Not only was the parking lot full, but on both sides of the pond, there were car park, all coming into our concern. We were open to county park. This thought.
Yeah, through the chair. We staff's looking at that in a couple of different venues. One is kind of a long-term planning through CD Camp, Coyote Valley's Conservation Areas Master Plan, and the Tilton Ranch Planning. In addition, we're looking for more of a short-term immediate options, potentially using the equestrian lot, but we need to consider the equestrian parking situation as well. So to answer your question, yes.
That sort of answers the question. But I just wanted to bring it out that it's real and it can happen again. Another pandemic, and there we are. What consideration has been on the 10 acres we bought right outside our entrance?
So that property is being looked at as part of the Conservation Areas Master Plan. We're working on lease agreement. Matt may have a little more information on that, but right now we're putting together what a lease agreement might look like. And we're carving out some of the area that would be used for ag to potentially facilitate some other use along the street. But it's being planned as part of the greater CD Camp.
Okay, thank you.
Director Potter.
So as just to follow up on that, when do you think we'll have some of that information about the potential additional parking and when will the CD Camp?
Yes, they're sort of on two separate tracks.
Right.
I think the more short term, I don't have a timeline for you, but that could be within the next year.
That's great. I didn't want to totally pin it
yeah,
down, but I just
yeah.
ballpark would be helpful.
Yeah,
And then, and so I love this picture. I don't know that I've seen that one before or seen it that big. But it assuming those Valley Oaks that are now, quite mature, were probably more dense in the past. Is there any thought to additional plantings of future Valley Oaks that might help fill in some of the gaps or in different places? I don't know if that's something we would look at, but this it's that I'd ask. Since I know there's hardly any Valley Oak area preserved in our county, so.
yeah, it just so happens we've received a small donation of trees from Google, and we're planning to use one of those Valley Oaks, potentially to replace one of the Valley Oaks fell recently. I don't know if you're the one nearest adjacent to where the picnic area is, but on the Valley Water property or right of the property line, unfortunately. And so looking to replace that one, but I think it's a great comment, and something we can look at more. I think in the plans for this preserve originally, there was plans to include more planting. But I think there are some other operational considerations and ongoing maintenance mitigation to consider as well.
As we looked, if we were gonna do any of that, I just think that that would be a great community building event. Getting as many young kids out there that, you know, we helped plant a valley oak that's gonna live for 200 years. And we were there to plant, so just thought I'd mention that.
Through the chair, just to add on to that excellent answer, Lucas. CV Camp is absolutely looking at the potential for Valley Oak Savannah restoration. Some of the science advisors suggested that as many as 14 mature Valley Oaks per acre, could be supported on, some of the 1,550 plus acres in that area. So really substantial opportunities for re-oaking, as the San Francisco Estuary Institute calls it. And then the other thing I'll mention in Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve in particular, a few years ago, we completed the South Valley Meadow Restoration Project, trying to restore the hydrology and use sort of passive restoration processes to recover native biodiversity. So that project was outstandingly successful. And one idea is that we might scale that up and replicate it in the North Meadow. The area you can see in this photograph, there's a riparian area that circles around the base of the hill there. There's a deeply incised tributary to Fisher Creek that we've identified as a really likely opportunity for another stream restoration project. So that may come forward in the form of either a natural resources strategic plan, kind of a long look ahead, or it could sit on the shelf until staff has time to get the project designed a little more than this conceptual outline that I'm sharing tonight. But it's something we're pretty excited about. So a lot more will happen at Coyote Valley Open Space Reserve.
Director Animal.
I had a question regarding the benches. Yes, I was escorting an elder recently. Finding benches was very important to me. So I was wondering how far apart they are spaced.
In the plans, well, the entire trail is approximately a quarter long. And so there would be benches at the trailhead and then about halfway down at the picnic area and then at the end of the trail there. So at about, yep, about 1/10 of a mile. Yep. So every 1,000 feet. Yeah, a stabilized decomposed granite, yes, for firm and stable surface.
Other questions? Is there any public comment?
They're not.
It'll be an exciting project. I just hope the, how do I say this nicely? The federal government gets back together. So we can run the country. But I think anything that increases accessibility, and I think it's inclusive of, disabled community and all age groups, I think is a wonderful thing. So thank you so much for doing this. And I think it'll just make the preserve more well loved. So your comment about parking, I think, is well taken. So I think it's something that we have to consider in the future.
Yes.
Well, I can get on my soapbox and talk about public transportation again. But
Got one other question, indirectly related, but it's good, we're trying to make the best use and highest and best use out of the land we have. We need to plan for the hill access, because of it's of a sacred nature to the indigenous folks there. Anybody been up there? There's a circle of rocks that apparently was the reason that people gathered there. Is there any access? It's kind of neat. Plus, it has a view. People like to get up, see the view. Anything in the future for access?
We would consider access by our tribal partners and their interest and capacity for that, and programming for that, or some kind of agreements, for access that way. As far as the public, because of the extremely sensitive nature of the site, it would have to be something that would be implemented with a lot of intentionality and care for the
Obviously meant to be, because it's one of the reasons. It come there, so good, I'm glad it's on the.
Okay. Yeah, okay, now we're at the end of the item, so now we need to consider motion to adopt. Yes,
Make a motion to adopt the negative.
okay, great. We have a motion by Director Animal.
Madam Chair, clarification.
Yeah.
Is that to, Director Animal, is that to adopt the negative declaration and approve the project? Because that's the resolution.
Second that.
Okay, so in the second by Director Potter, which is the adoption of the mitigated negative declaration pursuant to California CEQA and approving the Coyote Valley Open Space Preserve Public Access Improvement Project. All right. You ready to call roll?
Director Kennett,
Yes.
Director Flaher,
Yes.
Director Chapman,
Yes.
Director Annabelle,
Yes.
Director Alexander,
Yes.
Director Potter,
Yes.
Director Gill.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item is an informational item, which is a presentation on the communications work and accomplishments for the 2023 calendar year and remaining fiscal year. We're really getting to the end of the year already. All right. Thank you.
Thank you and good evening, directors. My name is Charlotte Graham and I'm the Public Information Officer for the Open Space Authority. In my position, I'm responsible for overseeing the communications team and strategies. And tonight we're presenting our annual communications and media update. And it'll cover the 2023 calendar year to date and all of the exciting things that we've been up to during our 30th anniversary. And a few things coming up in 2024 as well. I'm very excited to have my team presenting tonight for the first time in person since 2019. Yeah. And we've had a few changes since our last communications update in 2022. The first being that we have a new teammate, our public affairs intern, who's going to come up here in a couple minutes and introduce herself. And Anna Marie is also going to introduce her new title and what her role entails. So with that, I'm going to ask my teammates to come up really briefly and just introduce themselves.
Good evening, directors. So my name is Anna Marie Pallon. I am now the multimedia communications specialist, and that just means I oversee the agency's digital media strategy, and I lead the visual content, direction, and creation across all of our communication channels.
Good evening, directors. I'm Katie Simon. I'm our communications coordinator. I'm in charge of most of our writing content or written content, including our monthly newsletter and our blog.
Good evening, directors. I'm Adeline Huddy. I'm the public affairs intern, and I am responsible for helping plan social media content as well as engaging with our public audiences through social media.
Thank you. So let's get started with our ladder of engagement. So this is a guiding framework that we use to help us deepen community participation through these escalating steps. So as you can see, this starts with some easy items, things like following us on social media, and then it goes up to visiting our website and then engaging in person, for example, visiting an open space preserve or attending one of our environmental education events. And it also includes signing up for our email communications, which a lot of people do when they engage with our wonderful volunteers as we're out in the communities tabling. And then finally, we reach the top of the ladder, and this is more focused on sustained actions. So becoming a volunteer or an advocate for the agency. And this framework is really just sort of a piece of our role as communicators. And during this presentation, You'll learn about how we increase awareness of the Open Space Authority, build important environmental intelligence within our communities using traditional and new media, and as well as how our team provides support for other departments and teams within the Open Space Authority. So this is really important because as communicators, we really can't do our work alone. We cannot work in a vacuum. Our team coordinates and engages with just about every single team and department here at the Open Space Authority so that we can align our actions with our words and we can create more effective, intentional, and more equitable communication strategies. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Anna Marie, and she'll talk to us about social media.
Okay, so before I dive into our specific individual social media platforms that we're on, I kind of just want to share highlights across social media as a whole, because regardless of the specific platform, our audiences and just social media audiences as a whole continue to love two main categories, which is wildlife and wildflowers. So here's just a snapshot of some of the most popular posts. We have this great infographic about native snakes. We have this video that was actually posted for the first time a couple of years ago of these two tarantulas mating at Sierra Vista, but it continues to be the most popular post every year. We have another great video of Tule elk up in the hills at Maya-Yakima Coyote Ridge. We of course have the California poppy, which people continue to love no matter when we post about it. And then some great wildlife camera footage, including mountain lions. So apart from these two categories, which to be honest, aren't that much of a surprise, we also saw an additional success this year that came from the coverage of the winter storms and how that affected and it was seen across open space. So thanks to drone footage and photos like some of the ones you're seeing, we illustrated the importance of nature's infrastructure, in places like Coyote Valley, when it comes to flood protection specifically and water resources. And our audiences absolutely loved it. I'm just gonna flip through. I mean, this is just a snapshot again of the kind of content or the kind of response we get just from these specific videos we posted. So, love seeing this, super critical, like people get it. And so to see this kind of response when we're sharing exactly what our message is, exactly what our mission is so heartening and so inspiring. And yeah, it's just really, really awesome to see. So moving along to now, we're kind of going to break it down. So I would like to start by just saying that as social media as a whole continues to grow and honestly become just more and more oversaturated with content all the time, one of our main tasks is to stay up to date with each of the platforms' updates and ever-changing algorithms to make sure that our content performs well and reaches as many people as possible. So concerning the specific social media platforms that we're on, I just want to remind you that each platform does have its own specific strategy and goal and even its own voice. So for example, Facebook has our largest audience and the biggest spread of demographics. So you can imagine we're sharing the biggest variety of content. So anything from, open space news and updates, beautiful nature photos, of course, environmental content, promoting upcoming events, that's all going to be across Facebook. Instagram, on the other hand, it's similar, but it has a bit of a lighter, fun environment where we can do things like participate in social media trends, use a little bit more of a playful voice. We also have a really, really high engagement on Instagram. So it's probably the platform where we're actually interacting with people the most, through comments, through messages, through resharing different posts. YouTube is a little bit less active. We mainly use it for posting the amazing virtual programming that the environmental education team puts up, and then other video content as it comes up. Some updates. This year we did scale back our presence on X, which was formerly Twitter, due to some significant changes to the platform over the last year, and really prioritizing our capacity to focus on platforms that are going to allow us to reach even more people in our jurisdiction. We're still using the platform as needed. It is a really useful way to connect, especially with media outlets, other partners. Additionally, kind of an exciting update, we launched our presence on Nextdoor this year after the platform finally allowed special districts like us to create accounts. It was a long time coming, but we've been waiting for it for a while. So this is a huge step, mostly because all users on Nextdoor that live within our jurisdiction are automatically subscribed to receive our posts. So we don't have to do anything like building followers from scratch or do any kind of specific targeting. If we post something, people that live within our jurisdiction will see it. And we're already seeing huge success. So I took a little screenshot of one of the first posts we shared on Nextdoor. This was to share a community survey for the Coyote Valley Conservation Areas Master Plan earlier this year. And the post organically reached over 70,000 users in just a few days. So again, no advertising money, no special targeting. The post went up, people saw it, which was awesome. Lastly, in terms of social media, we took a huge step with our social media ambassador strategy by partnering with local content creators to reach new audiences in really new and fun and exciting ways. I'm actually going to hand it over to Adeline to talk a little bit more about that specific project.
Thank you, Anna Marie. On September 7th, we hosted the pilot event for our new ambassador program. For this event, we invited a bunch of local content creators, or Instagram influencers, as they're often referred to, who all post content within the outdoor education, hiking, and conservation space. This event gave them the opportunity to explore and enjoy the sunset at Mayon-Oyakma Coyote Ridge, to learn about the habitat and the rare serpentine soil that gives us a lot of rare species at the preserve, and the butterfly pass system, and hear more about what we are doing as an agency. Our goals in hosting this event were to reach a wider audience and spread the word about Mayon-Oyakma Coyote Ridge and the special steps guests should take before visiting, as well as to foster working relationships with these ambassadors. And overall, the event was a huge success. We had 14 influencers join us, which was well aligned with our expectations for the event, as we had set a max capacity at around 20 individuals. And these influencers had a combined following of 338,000 people. So through their shares, we were able to reach a much larger audience than we normally are able to with our Instagram. There was lots of posts shared tagging us with educational content about the habitat, butterfly passes, leave no trace principles, and even demonstrations of how to use the boot brushes, which you can see in the image there. And from the content they shared about us, over the next few days, we gained over 60 followers, which is a massive increase in growth for us over a short period of time. And it was amazing to see how excited they were to interact with us and build relationships with the other content creators in attendance. And this event allowed us to build the desired relationship. And we are planning to host another event in the spring to educate everyone about wildflower season. And now I'm going to pass it back to Anna Marie.
So before I move on to the website, I also just want to note that, you know, we're taking it high level for the presentation, but there's more numbers and specific data within the board packet. So if you have any, if you want to know anything more about that, please don't hesitate to look there. And then I also want to mention that social media is a really amazing way if you all like to engage with us more. Yeah, we love when you share our content or when you even have ideas about content. Super open for all of that, and we do really appreciate whenever we see our board members sharing, sharing the good news that we're putting out. So moving on to our website. So in 2023, so far we've had over 170,000 page views across the website. We also have had a little over 82,000 users, which is an increase from last year. Some high-level updates of the website this year. Something big is we've been working with our web developers to conduct a user experience audit earlier this year, and that's to make improvements to our website based on research-backed information. So some initial takeaways from the audit, there were two main ones. One is that users responded really positively when arriving to our website. They liked the look and the feel. They thought it was really beautiful. We did discover some opportunities to improve the website. The main one was updating the navigation and organization of the site so that users and website visitors can more easily get the information that they need quickly. So this is going to include reorganizing our content, doing things like placing the most important information closer to the top where users are actually interacting. So we're really excited to work on these improvements as soon as possible, and we're going to roll out the updates over the next year, again, working with our web developers in Technic. So,
Quick question for the website. So, in our website, do we have any place where the residents can give any feedback or any kind of, they have anything to be, I mean, their thoughts or inputs? So then we can look at that, or the agency can look at that, then try to be updated whatever their request or whatever their comments.
through the chair. So if I'm understanding correctly, website users, if there's a place where they can leave feedback for us about the website.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and we do see this sometimes, that we just have the main contact us page on the website, which is hopefully pretty easy for people to find. On that, they can say what the topic's about. And that is where people can give us feedback on anything, you know, about the agency, anything from preserve specific to questions about the board, etc. And we do have comments here and there that come in specifically about the website. Sometimes people will email one of us on the communications team. We at this point don't have a centralized place where we're documenting those. So I think that's actually a really great idea and something that I'm going to note because along with this really controlled audit study, I think it would be great to have more of that anecdotal comments here and there. So thank you. So related, as another update, we're also focusing on ADA compliance of the website. So we recently procured a service provider to make these important updates to our website and to better reach accessibility compliance moving forward. A couple other recent updates to the website include a know before you go section at each Open Space Preserves web page. So that includes FAQs and information specific to each preserve, so that people can easily access this and know the things they have to know before they even visit the trails. So this is specific things like there's no bathroom at Sierra Vista, and that's going to be under the know before you go, or all of the specific and really unique things that people can know before visiting Maya-Yakima Cody Bridge, etc. We also added our new urban grant success stories. So working with the grants team, we updated our website with the newest 19 grant projects that were awarded funding this year to further highlight all of our work in connecting people to nature across the jurisdiction. And now I'm going to actually hand it over to Katie to discuss the last main website update of this year, which was the 2022 year in review.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna Marie. So yes, we also saw a lot of great success with our 2022 year in review report, which we translated into Spanish and Vietnamese and promoted through multicultural media outlets. As you'll see in your board packet, this webpage received over 3 times as much engagement as it did the previous year, with nearly 18,500 views. And what's really exciting is that all 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, received a relatively equal amount of engagement rather than English being the dominant language. So in fact, the Spanish version was the most popular with nearly 7,000 views. This tells us that there is demand for our content in languages other than English, and that using resources to translate important content is highly worthwhile. And next, I'll be talking about our email outreach. So in the beginning of our 30th anniversary year, we implemented an updated research-based newsletter layout to increase readability, click rates, and overall appearance. Ta-da. We removed the sidebar and opted for a single column, so you can read the entire newsletter by scrolling down once. This version is much more mobile friendly as well, accommodating the large portion of folks who read emails from their phones. We also shortened the blurbs, using a few attention grabbing sentences to prompt readers to go to our blog to read the full stories on our website. And as far as general trends go, we've seen a few changes throughout this year. As you'll see in your board packet, we saw a slight drop in email open rate. And this could be due to a variety of reasons, including an increasing subscriber base and ever-changing email privacy policies that make it difficult to see accurate data on open rates. But while we noticed a decrease in open rates, we've seen exciting increases in other metrics. We recorded a nearly 40% increase in our click-through rate and a considerable increase in our average click rate. And further, we are seeing read-through rates of nearly 80% consistently. This in combination with our high click rates tells us that our audience is interested in our content and finds value in reading the newsletter as well as reading the full stories on our blog. And finally, as you may have noticed reading our emails, we use storytelling to emphasize each of a few key themes every month, including land stewardship, climate resilience, wildlife, agriculture, recreation, and community. We do this to keep our content diverse and interesting, as well as to capture the vast breadth of the authority's work. And lastly, I'll be talking about the blog. So we continue publishing 2 to 5 blog articles every month, which are featured in our email newsletter. Further, we frequently update our old blog posts to keep them current and to avoid redundancy. Repurposing older content to our audience helps increase our search engine optimization, our efficiency, and the shelf life of the content that we publish. Our most popular post on the blog this year was our Snakes of the South Bay article, which received nearly 6,000 views. Similar to our social media audiences, our blog audience really enjoys wildlife content as well as beautiful landscapes, which explains why the next 2 most popular articles of the year were both related to wildflowers. And as I mentioned earlier, one of our ongoing goals is to increase the accessibility of the information that we publish and ultimately increasing access to outdoor spaces. This involves working to write content that is in plain language and translating pertinent or instructional blogs into Spanish and Vietnamese so our articles can be viewed by a wider audience. As we continue this work, a priority for our team is transcreation of content. This involves using bilingual, culturally informed parties to collaborate on content at the beginning of the process, rather than translating content already produced in English. This summer, we issued an RFP for a multicultural public relations and ethnic media services to assist in these efforts. A vendor, Amaredia, was selected and then approved by you, our board of directors, last month in September. And we are excited to begin working with them to reach more multilingual households across our jurisdiction. Thank you. And with that, I'll hand it back to Charlotte.
Okay, let's talk about earned media. And as a reminder, when I talk about earned media, I'm referring to publicity or exposure that we receive or gain from methods other than paid advertising. So earned media is a very important and effective tool for the Open Space Authority. It helps us spread awareness about the agency and amplify our mission-driven messaging. So this year we focused a lot of our earned media pitching on our 30th anniversary. We had a lot of exciting things to pitch to local media outlets, including the 2023 Urban Grant Awards, and of course, the opening of Mayan-Oyakma Coyote Ridge Open Space Preserve. And while we do reserve a lot of our pitching for really big kind of newsworthy announcements, occasionally there are opportunities to work with reporters where we take a more opportunistic approach. So for example, in July of this year, unfortunately, a juvenile mountain lion was found struck on Santa Teresa Boulevard in North Coyote Valley. While we didn't specifically pitch this out as a story, it did sort of go viral on our social media channels. And because of this, it happened to catch the attention of local media. So when we started getting media interest, we leveraged this opportunity to talk about the importance of connected, protected open space, wildlife crossings, and slowing down on the roads for public safety and to protect wildlife, especially in places like Coyote Valley. So as a result, from that, we saw over 6 stories go out on local broadcast stations and news sites just about this mountain lion in Coyote Valley. So sometimes it is just random, but we are always prepared to respond to media inquiries to help educate the public and get out our mission-driven messaging. So to date, we've seen over 300 media mentions and more coming in. I just saw another one this morning about the Community Day event this weekend, which I'll talk about more in a little bit. This is a 525% increase from the amount of media coverage that we saw last year in 2022 already. Of course, we've had a lot of things worth celebrating this year, including the opening of Mayan-Oyakma Coyote Ridge Open Space Preserve, which did account for about 77% of the total coverage that we've seen so far this year.
Can I ask one question? Whenever within our website, we have event. Under the event, so there are many things is there, right? But it's all is in English, right? All is, you can read in English, so how you guys can translate that? Do you have any methods to be, if I'm, for example, cannot read English? So then there is any way we can look at in Spanish?
Through the chair. This is a great point that you make. And for this event specifically, for the Community Day celebration this weekend, we did a lot of pitching to local ethnic media outlets. So
No, I'm asking only on the website.
on the website. So we are currently looking into ways that we can make our website more accessible in other languages. We're looking at localization tools that would allow folks to have translated content available to them. So that is actually part of what we're looking at through the UX audit.
Might be default is the English. So why we don't just put a couple buttons there, the language? So there are a couple languages you can select that and then the other languages come. Easily, I'm just giving you, might be this is the best way. If you guys already did that, that's fine. So otherwise, just think about that. Might be a cheaper solution.
Through the chair, yes, thank you for that feedback. We certainly are exploring ways to make our website more accessible in other languages outside of just things like having there are certain translation tools that are available through a web browser where you can translate our web pages in that way. But we do want to take a more intentional approach and even use things like transcreation so that the content is culturally relevant. So thank you for your feedback. And actually, that brings me to my next point, which is that we did actually receive a really good mix of coverage, both through traditional media outlets, including print, radio, television, as well as ethnic media coverage. So stories in other languages, specifically Vietnamese, Chinese, and Spanish. So to assist in these efforts, we distribute press releases, media advisories, paid advertorials, and we continue building relationships with local reporters who show an interest in our work. And a part of that does include working with our ethnic media consultants so that we can transcreate content and make sure that all of this information is available in the languages spoken in our communities. In terms of other projects and initiatives, I'm not going to read through this entire list through all the bullet points, but as you can see, the communications team is assisting with quite a few projects that are being led by other departments. I believe you've heard about a good amount of these. Some of these might be new things that you'll be learning about soon. And there are many more. This is really just a sampling, and we're happy to go into more detail if you have questions about any of these specifically, but these are just a few highlights from 2023 and some others that are coming up in the current fiscal year through the beginning of 2024. So as I mentioned earlier, our communications team continually collaborates across the authority's departments on a variety of projects to tell the story of our mission-driven work, to connect people to nature, and to try to make everyone feel welcome and like they belong at their open spaces. So the communications team, I just talked about this, is the central point for media inquiries. We help field staff and volunteers stay up to date on current messaging and initiatives so that they can engage with preserve visitors about all of the wonderful things going on and ways that they can get involved. And of course, we provide important timely information about preserve and trail closures and updates to staff, CAC, and you, our board members, in addition to making this information available to the public. Looking ahead, although we have already begun planning our 2024 editorial calendar, our 30th anniversary is not over yet. Before the end of the year, we will be releasing a 30-year look back, which will be a digital story map that will take the place of our annual year in review report this year. Before that happens, of course, we have one big splash 30th anniversary event happening this weekend, October the 14th on Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. out at Mayan Oyakma Coyote Ridge is our Community Day celebration. There's going to be a whole lineup of activities and things for all ages to enjoy. So in addition to partner booths, that'll include partners like Saved by Nature, the Bay Area Ridge Trail Council, the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. They'll be giving a land acknowledgement prior to the hike going out, as well as hosting a booth throughout the day. And we're also expecting local media to attend. So we're especially looking forward to continuing to educate folks about the new preserve, the butterfly pass system, and making sure that everyone knows what to expect as we approach the 2024 wildflower and butterfly season. So if you're able to join us this weekend, we would absolutely love to see you there. Just a quick reminder to anybody out there listening or watching on YouTube that there is a shuttle site because there is limited parking at the preserve. So the shuttles will be leaving from Laguna Seca in North Coyote Valley every 15 minutes. It's going to be really great. And we just look forward to seeing a lot of people there. So even though it's kind of hard to believe that we're already talking about 2024, we are, of course, already excited to celebrate a few more milestones coming up in terms of expanded public access. The communications team is working closely with the planning department so that we can plan celebrations for the new Yagas Creek Bridge and day use area. This project will create new creations in the to the Bay Area Ridge Trail. So we're looking forward to collaborating with our events team so that we can celebrate yet another big public celebration in 2024 out at Rancho Cañada del Oro Open Space Preserve. So we'll have a lot more information about that in the months to come. Oh, and one other thing I just wanted to point out is we just set up a little display in the corner here with a sampling of our work. There's also a flyer posted to the wall about Community Day, which is available on our website, of course, in the events section. So if you have time to check that out, we'd love for you to see everything over there. And then before I conclude, I just wanted to say a big thank you to my team. So much dedication and professionalism, tireless commitment to serving the Open Space Authority's mission and our communities. So much gratitude to you, Mark Landgraf, our public affairs, external affairs manager who's responsible for the whole public affairs team, for his support and his outstanding leadership. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you have for our team.
Thank you. I had no breadth of knowledge on all of the social media and like the terminology and all that. It's like, I just go to Facebook and go, okay. That's it. But I know there's a whole process of engagement and trying to get clicks and all the influencers. Oh my gosh. I'm too old for that. Anyway, okay. So I believe Director Annabelle has a question and then Director Fawn.
First of all, I'd like to compliment you on the written report in the packet. I mean, it was really great to be able to follow along there as you all were presenting. And it was a great slideshow. And as Helen was saying, Director Chapman was saying, I too am one of those people that I can go on the website, but Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever. So I'm wondering if we have a program, maybe it would be an idea to have an outreach program that would go to some of our senior centers that are teaching computers and say, we'd like to participate in one of your classes, and then using the access through these different medias to the various postings that we have. And I think it's really important for that age group because so many people going to the ballot. So the more we can educate people about the beauty of our valley, the greater chances we have of more successes. So something to think about, and I'll ask my son to give me some training on how to get those.
Thank you.
Thank you. And to pick up where you left off on that, something that comes to mind on this, and I worked for a company that had a major effort to raise the awareness that they were even there. And it was in the mortgage industry, as they were competing with so many people, they needed to know, and they needed to produce statistics of how the website was working, how many levels down you clicked on, and
all these kind of metrics. And that's all good. But can you translate those metrics into physical improvements in this organization's success? And I think that's, I know you gotta do this stuff first to get to there. But when it has to translate into what Garnett has said, into the next time we go out to ballot, people won't be asking, who are these people? And so click-throughs and all that is kind of a way the industry has said, well, I know they were there because I saw them click on it. Well, what is it? Is it getting volunteers? Is it getting people making donations? What is the physical things that translate into ballot measure success and long-term funding? So I think I want to see this, say, how do we translate these numbers and metrics into that success?
You could.
Yeah.
If you-
Wow.
You could answer that a lot of campaigns have been involved in social media, yeah.
So through the chair, I was hoping Charlotte would answer that question to save me, but no, really good point. And I don't have a specific answer. I think the communications team does take a look at the analytics and translates that into more engagement. And the engagement is really what gets greater awareness out there in the public about the work that we do. So that doesn't necessarily translate into votes, but of course as I think as was said, we can't campaign for those votes anyway, right?
Right.
But what we do want to do is make people not only aware of our agency, but the importance of nature and nature-based climate solutions, and the kinds of things that our agency provides to the public. The more engaged they are, not just through access in our social media, website, and blog, but actually as the ladder of engagement that Charlotte was showing earlier gets people to volunteer or serve as advocates or ambassadors for us. That's really key, and that's why I think one great example of that is the social media influencer event that we had, where it's not just us putting the messages out there, it's someone else putting out to their following how important the work is that we do. So more of that kind of work, I think, can really amplify our message and get across that everybody's behind us.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, that's great stuff. So it comes back to me that we used to do stuff through Nichols Research. We used to do stuff, we did. Major initiatives and stuff. We went to them to find out what the people were thinking. And I think we need a component of that. I want to see not just stuff pushed out, we can count those things, but to go out and sample and come back and say, how effective is this? How are we getting there with our message? Who are we contacting? Which groups, and where do we need to put our energies? Instead of saying, well, we can sit at the back of the program and say, here's what the website's telling us in numbers.
Yeah, through the chair. I think it's a really good point. It's very hard to do. We've thought in the past about ways to measure that, but actually a lot of that I think comes through anecdotal information as we're out in the community doing our outreach. But I think it's something we can explore further. So I think it's a point well made.
Thank you. Great presentation, you guys. What a great team. I work adjacent to the folks at a special district that do a lot of that you're doing, and I've got some great ideas that I'm going to steal or borrow and share. But I think the pivot on Twitter is just right, and Nextdoor. I didn't think we weren't on it, but that's I'm turning off comments when you post things. I think has been my experience with Nextdoor. But do we boost our events on Facebook? That was the question. One of the questions I had.
You answer.
Through the chair. So Facebook boosting, it really depends. It's case by case. A lot of times for events specifically, we rarely need to boost. We rarely even need to promote events on Facebook because they're just going to fill up anyway. That being said, other posts, we have taken more of a step back. We used to just put, X amount of dollars for every single Facebook post, but now we're thinking maybe we use our advertising money in a better way to, really pool it towards one specific campaign. Pay a little bit more attention to, okay, these are the posts that always are just going to do well organically. We don't need to boost those, but this is about a specific message that we want to go out, or this maybe, this is a bigger event that we do want to push more. But yeah, our advertising strategy is a little, it's still in process, but yeah, it's a little more nuanced than just every single post gets it.
What Mark said made me think of that question, because we want to make sure we're not just talking to all of our friends that already found our website. The boosting gets you out to people that maybe hadn't thought of it, but then they see the cute snake thing and then they're hooked. So if we weren't doing it, I'd encourage to do more, but especially for big events, that's how we get different folks to find us and discover, and then really engage. And then I know the tabling with Spina, we just did it last year, was the first year, so I'm sure we're gonna see that exponential boost. And I'm so excited about how that's impacting our organization. And then the last part is I've got a crazy idea, which is just what you want. What about merch? Do we have all these pictures that I'm seeing? They get better every year, but I know Mid-Penn will have, you can buy cards of some of their that people can write on. But we might want to think about how to engage through selective merch, but especially for the influencers, give them a shirt or a hat, and then they're wearing it in their posts,
or both,
or everything.
Yeah.
They'll wear, because we looked at Steph Curry. I think it's $200,000 to get him to wear your stuff for social media sites, because he's got 40 million jillion people following him. So we don't have any budget for that. I think that's such a great idea to do. So keep up the great work.
Thank you. And I will just mention through the chair that, for the influencer event, we gave them swag bags. So, which is so cool, because now they're wearing our hats and our shirts on their account, and we're not paying them a dime for that. They're just doing it because they like us. But for all the other ideas, thank you so much. Yeah.
And for that influencer event, those were custom hats, right?
They were.
For that event.
Yeah.
We loved them. What was the tagline?
For that one, it was something about send newts. Yeah. The little newt on the front. Yeah.
Director Kim.
First of all, you have a great team, and it's a very productive team. So great presentation. It's really a good information. But excuse me, I always ask the question whenever the topic is just discussing. The reason is that because if we just go at the end of the presentation, then might be I forget or mix up everything. I want to be just clear right away. Excuse me for that.
Director Animal.
The next time that you guys print up the business cards that you give to the directors, on the back side, instead of having the verbiage, have the tags for Facebook. So then when we can say, this is who we are, and this is where you look to get more information. Because that way, we can keep those things out there, and it keeps some helpful, meaningful reconnection by whoever.
Another really silly suggestion, but what we do at work is they require us to have a certain signature line with our name, our title, and then our little Facebook, Twitter, and or X, whatever logos underneath it. So maybe the directors have something like that, right? So then we're also can click through us. Any other questions? Any comments? All right, great presentation. Thank you very, very much. Okay. All right, moving right along, we are to information reports. Lee?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll kick us off and pass this down the row here. I know you just heard it, but I would like to invite you again to Saturday's Community Day at Mayano Yakima. Starts at 9 o'clock, runs to 1. Bring little ones if you have access. We've got all kinds of great crafts going on and a Flutterby parade, I do believe is how we're billing it. So I look forward to seeing you again, shuttle parking at Laguna Seca. Parking lot opens at 8:30. So we hope to see you there if you can. And I think Matt is passing.
No report tonight.
Very good. So Mark.
Yeah, good evening, directors. I just wanted to mention that next Thursday night at the Santa Clara County League of Conservation Voters event, former Director Virginia Holtz will be recognized for a Lifetime Achievement Award, very well deserved. Of course, she was on the board here from 2005 and then for 13 years, I believe. And, you know, with the League of Conservation Voters and many other important roles that she played. So if you're interested, I can offline, of course, provide more information about that event, but it's at the SOFA Park in downtown San Jose, 5:30 next Thursday.
That concludes for staff. All right, legal counsel.
No report, Madam Chair.
Okay. Board member reports. We'll start with Director Gill.
Thank you for asking me. Actually, I attended D8 roundtable. And then I just updated the Open Space Authority's last month activities very well. And thank you, Carolyn, for sending me some talking points. I really appreciate that. Do every month, actually. That's good for me. Otherwise, I have to be find out one by one. So, but it's easier if you just send it. There are Senator Dave Cortese actually updated the bills process from start up to the whenever the governor sign and then bill pass the whole thoroughly. Then the people can understand how the bill is start and then how it's go to the Senate and then many communities and then go to the governor's table to sign it. So Sylvia Arena supervisor, she updated like the counties. So many others elected officers are there, like the school board and the cities. So it was really a good informational meetings there. And then I try to be attend every month, but sometimes I miss it. But it was really, and then I'll bring back next month whatever the updates they have there. Thank you.
Director Cox.
No report.
Director Adamson.
Attended last Friday night, I guess, with Director Chapman and Director Animal, the Sierra Club Guardians of Nature, which was really nicely done. It was packed. There were a lot of people there, and they had a lovely presentation honoring Florence. See if I could, who Florence Riviere, who worked her whole life and ended up being responsible for preserving the Baylands, Don Edwards regional, and just much of our Baylands area that's been protected. So that was pretty impressive. And she's almost 100 and still sharp and a sense of humor. And she got up and spoke. So that was great. So that was good.
Thank you. Yeah, to piggyback off of that, at 99, I could be that eloquent. That's my goal. She was amazing. She said, you know, for all of her life, she operated in the background and, you know, never really cared who took the credit as long as the project got done. But the funniest thing, she said, okay, I'm 99 now. I guess I'm going to take credit for other people's work. So it's like, okay, I think it was very well done. Very nice. Very well attended. I attended LAFCO as a voting member and we approved the countywide fire service review. And I was also appointed to, I had it right down here, an ad hoc committee that is going to review the policies and procedures for LAFCO along with the chair and the vice chair. So look for that coming. And then it's gonna be, I will be attending the event to recognize Virginia. And also going to the Myanawak Community Day on Saturday. So lots of things going on. Director Allen?
Well, I can only echo what you and Director Alexander had to say. The one thing I'll add, about the honoring by the CR clubs was that the longevity, the number of years that she worked there, and that something like 40,000 acres between in the bay lands on just our side of the bay, not considering what they were doing over in Berkeley. And it's just reinforcing that this work is lifetime work that's going to go on for generations to come. So it's really wonderful to see the young folks active and involved. And the other comment she made is how much she relied upon the biology department at San Jose State. That whenever she would go for federal and Species Act protection, and that the university was behind her 100% to get her the information that she needed. So for all of us to learn how to gather the right resources when we're out there advocating for what we value. I mean, she was, be nice, smile, but just know what you're talking about.
Director Flower?
No.
Please. Director Kennedy? But not, Director Kennedy?
So, it's nice to know that we do all this conservation work, and I spent the last week in New England finding that other people are doing the same thing, but in the same way, but for different species. For instance, bald eagles are to them what our red-tailed hawks are to us. And they were everywhere, and I always visit a preserve wherever there's a preserve. And one of the ones I visited was the Loon Preservation Reserve in New Hampshire. And I refer to it as the Looney Bin, but it was interesting to learn about that particular species and all they do and how they intermix with everything else. Anyway, it's a beautiful trip. I'll be posting it probably next week for anyone who's on Facebook. Thank you.
All right, well, with that, formally adjourned at 7:43.